All right. Welcome to the show. My name is Shane, also known as Black Swan. So today we're going to continue our discussion with the Charlie Kirk assassination. And I decided to toss my name into the hat and go down this rabbit hole. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to help Candace Owens out. I'm going to help her out. I'm going to be helping her to discover, and I don't know if, honestly, I don't know if we ever will be able to figure this out, but I'm going to help her out. I'm going to share some of my thoughts, some of my ideas that perhaps maybe she didn't consider. And who knows, maybe she'll watch this episode, and we're going to be focusing on an interview that was done by Sean Ryan just a few days ago with what's the guy's name? Brian Hyperbole or something like that. One of the main security guy that was in charge of taking care of Charlie Kirk. And I think to do this right, sometimes you got to let them talk, let them speak. And then what I like to do is I like to share my thoughts and share some of my insights based on my perspective from some of the books that I've read in the past couple of months. You guys know me. I've dived deep into the rabbit hole of the beast system inside the book of Revelation. I've also talked about simulation theory, the idea that quite possibly we could be living in a simulation theory, and I'm about 99% convinced. And I know that shocks people when I say that, but you got to understand the terminology of what a simulation is. You got to understand what that means first before you start throwing sticks and stones at your screen and go, well, this guy believes we're in a video game. He's wacko. He's crazy. Meanwhile, most of the leading scientists, secular scientists, would agree with me. And they would be like, yeah, you know what? He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. There's something going on. They would say there's an entity that's in control of this world and interacts with this world with various agents. That's how they would describe it. I would say it a little bit more simply that Jesus Christ designed a world that is temporal, that is going to pass away one day, and so will heaven. And we will be rewarded for based on how we treat people today, not only in the next world, but worlds to come. Because once you accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, you are eternal. Now, if you want to get into the details as to how all that stuff works, we're not going to talk about that today. But you have to understand this world that we live in, this physical world, is temporary. It's not permanent. And we have Bible verses to back it up. Paul talks about this, Peter talks about this, where there was a time where a world existed before the great flood and was destroyed. And then God made a promise and said, I will never destroy the world by a flood again. And Peter mentions the idea that the world is going to get destroyed by a fire. So when I talk about a simulation, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about PCs and NPCs, non-player characters, people that do crazy things on this planet, and we're like, they have no remorse whatsoever. You can talk to them about the Bible, you can talk to them about Christianity, and they're just hell bent on doing what they're doing. And then you start thinking a little bit about what Paul says, that God created some vessels for destruction in order to show his mercy onto the other vessels. So you have vessels that are shown mercy, which I believe it's us, because we're under the age of grace and mercy. And then there are other vessels that are just that's what they're here for, is for destruction. Almost like empty containers. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm not talking about eternal security and people losing eternal security. That's not what I'm talking about. If you get saved, to me, it feels like you're a PC. You're a player character in this world. If you don't get saved, no matter what people say to you, and you continue down the mechanism of continuing on the pathway, you're destined to the lake of fire. There's no other way around it. You're destined to the lake of fire. And there are people that will run to the lake of fire, and it's mind-boggling. It's bizarro world. And they call me crazy for saying that we live in a simulation theory. And there are more people that if they sat down and really went at it and started to actually think and go, you know what? It does kind of feel like we're being recorded, not from the cameras here, but just in life itself. It feels like one day, every action that we do, we are going to be held accountable. Every word, every deed, everything that we say, we're going to be held accountable. And those that know about Christ are going to be held even more accountable. Just like in the Old Testament, you have a group of people called the Israelites. They were to be basically a light for other nations. They dropped the ball on like the 99-yard line. And God said, I'm not going to let them become extinct, but I'm going to create a new covenant because of the hardness of their hearts. They're stubborn. Every time I punish them, it gets worse. So I'm doing a new covenant. I'm going to circumcise their hearts. So anybody that comes to me is a new creature in Christ. And the only way to get to the Father is through the Son. So you have to think about that. There's only one way to eternal life, and that's Jesus Christ. So far, I don't think I've said anything crazy. And if you look at the book of Revelation, you can't help feel like we're in some kind of a video game. When you look at all the stuff that's going down, it is craziness in there. Like, there's so many things going on. We're going to talk about this on Sunday with Bob's Resurrection Rapture Report. Go check out his channel. He did a video on End Time Dream and Vision. It's about 30 minutes, a 30-minute video. I'm going to watch it a second time about the man-child. And we're going to unpack it on Sunday. It's going to be good. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit about time travel and talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk. And I think the more I talk about this topic, the more it's going to start to blend together, and you're going to be like, okay, I used to think Shane was crazy about talking about all this time traveler stuff, carpenters from Zechariah chapter 1, time going backwards and all this. I used to think he's crazy, but is he? Is he crazy? Because I get that. I get that a few times in the comments. People are like, this guy's mentally ill, talking about angels that can actually shift time and all this kind of stuff, even though you quote scripture. They just think I'm nuts. So let's just listen to some of this interview. And I listened to pretty much the whole interview from Sean Ryan and this gentleman here. This guy's name is Brian Harpole. And it's a long interview. I know people on my channel said sometimes, hey, Shane, your video's too long. I go like an hour, 2 hours. Sean went 2 hours and 48 minutes. They have 1 million views. So that tells you there's an audience for long format. Joe Rogan goes 3, 4, or 5 hours. So this isn't TikTok. If you want to go to TikTok and you like scrolling, just if that's for you, then go over to TikTok and all that kind of stuff. But here we try and take our time and unpack stuff. So let's go to the interview. This is about 2/3 of the way through the interview, and it starts getting a little bit interesting. He just finished describing what happened in the hospital, and I'm going to have to go through this whole video right from the very beginning, and it's going to take me a few hours to unpack it because it's almost 3 hours long. I'm going to probably take about 6 or 8 hours to unpack this whole video because this guy, in some ways, this guy sang like a canary. And it's bizarro world, man. I'm telling you this. The stuff that this guy talks about. But before we get going, we gotta watch some of this clip, and then I can begin to unpack it. So let's go right into it. If you're not a fan of Sean Ryan, too bad. Otherwise, subscribe to his channel. All right, here we go.
I think that the people posting these.
Okay. Before we get going, I gotta just mention where we're at right now. So now they're starting to get into the idea, and I think these are shots across the bow against people like Candace Owens, against people like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and that. I think subtly, not directly from Sean Ryan, but I think there is a subtle tone there that says that if you're asking the hard questions, you're doing it for clicks and bait and all this kind of stuff to try and make money off of this. And I'm telling you, from my experience, this is the hardest topic to talk about because you get slapped around so much in the comments just for asking questions. So it's not a fun topic. An easier topic as a Christian to talk about. Just look at Watchman River. Talks about Jesus Christ coming every single day and has 153,000 subscribers, and that's all he talks about is Jesus is coming back any day by river. So that's great. 30 minutes every day like clockwork. I don't work that way. I talk about the whole Bible. I talk about conspiracies. I go down rabbit holes, all that kind of stuff. And some of these topics are not easy to talk about, to ask questions, because you get slammed in the comments. But I think you have to go through some of that. You have to get beat up a little bit in the comments, not only to get thicker skin, but to get to the truth. You have to go through this stuff. And if you think I'm kidding, just watch the comments. Watch what people say. They say everything from I'm anti-Israel, I'm anti-Semite, I'm a Satanist. I've been called every name under the sun. Like it's weird. As soon as you start talking about these kind of topics, if I talk about Ruth, nothing. Quiet. People are just quiet. They don't even say anything. But as soon as you talk about conspiracies, like why aren't they investigating this topic, Charlie Kirk? Why is there so many conspiracies, first of all, around this topic? I think part of it is because people feel like they're being hosed, that they're being lied to. And if you watch that, which I did, I just happened to watch about 30 minutes after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I went live. I was just about to go live when I was on the phone with a security guy that had the feed on one of his radios saying, I got to go. Charlie Kirk was just assassinated. And so then I hung up, and then I went online, and right away I just hit record. And then I started documenting, because I'm telling you, if we don't talk about this stuff, it's going to be erased in history. And I'm going to prove it, hopefully in this video, if not this video, the next video, or maybe the next video after that, that they're trying to change our timeline. They're trying to change our history. And a lot of people don't believe in time travel. They don't believe in time travel. They don't, and I'm not talking about going into necessarily a DeLorean and going back and forth in time, but there are things that some of these operatives, some of these higher ups that are in charge of security, they know something about time travel that we don't know. They know how to use it and we don't. Basically, that's what it boils down to. And it's going to pop up a couple of times in this video. And it's subtle. So when it happens, I got to pause it and tell you there it is. Because you'll miss it. You'll miss it. All right. Let's go now.
I don't know. I mean, I have mixed feelings. I think some people are legitimately just trying to figure it out. I think that there are other people that are very obviously making a living off of sensationalizing this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we live in a time where people don't, including myself, don't know where to find the truth. They don't know who to believe. They are starting not to even believe their own eyes.
And do you blame them?
No, I don't.
Not at all. Me neither. I mean,
I don't.
You look
we have zero faith in any of these institutions.
You think about this. There's a guy out there, and he has a company called Paramount Tactical, and his name's Gary. And Gary took an ass whipping online because he went out there and said, and he did exactly what we're talking about right now. And people whipped his ass for telling the truth because he bucked the system. He said, no, look at this. And he broke it down from a professional standpoint because he has a background in it and a probability standpoint. And I hadn't talked to him, and he was like 95% right, even on the medical stuff. And it's like, but then he took an ass whipping online for it. And I sat and watched it from afar. And it's like, so people get chastised for telling the truth. And
I think he was talking about COVID. Not sure, but just so you have a little bit of context, I don't believe anything this guy says. Again, I have to unpack this whole interview because there's so much in it. There's so many inconsistencies, and I'm going to try and talk to it. I don't want to go for hours today. Maybe we'll spend a little bit more time tomorrow, but yeah, there's so much. So you have to kind of know how I'm viewing this based on after watching the interview that I don't believe this guy. I don't trust him. I think Sean is doing a great job on the interview, and I think sometimes Sean asks the questions, but he's not combative. He's not coming at these guys because sometimes you have to come at it as almost like you're a friend of them so they talk more. Because if you start being combative, like, you're a liar, this doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you put people on the roof? Why wouldn't you have drones? Why didn't you ask the police department to send somebody on the roof? All this kind of stuff. And there's inconsistencies. So Sean is doing it right by not blasting this guy back. But I hope he doesn't believe what this guy is laying down. So, okay, so they're on to the media. So let's just continue here.
then you've got, like you said, who do you believe? I mean, our media, they big poll. They polled our people in the United States, and how many of you believe the media? And said 70% of them don't believe a word that comes out of the media's mouth. And I'm like, well, let's look at this. If a baker makes bread every day and 70% of his product tastes like crap, how long is he going to be in business? And then why do we keep letting these people be in business? And then, so that's the big media. You think that's worse online?
So here comes the shots across the bow, and I think this is directed to Candace Owens and anyone that is trying to uncover the truth of what happened to Charlie Kirk. Because there's big media, which is like Fox and all this, and he's like 70% of people don't believe this stuff. They don't believe the FBI, the CIA, the government. We just don't believe. So don't tell me things like, I gave the evidence as soon as I can to the FBI first because I trust them 100%. I believe in the FBI, the CIA. I believe when the police say something to me that they got it covered, I trust them 100%. That's where you start running into becoming naive, and you gotta listen to how this guy speaks. So now he talked about big media. Now he's going to be like, he calls them the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams, all this kind of stuff. Again, I think this is directed at Candace Owens a little bit, so indirectly, because really she feels like she's at the. I feel like she's at the tippity top when it comes to going after the truth. When it comes to Charlie Kirk, I don't know of another channel that is going after the truth like Candace Owens is. And people get mad at her. It's like, why are you spending so much time on all this stuff? Well, it's not easy, for one. And I believe it's because she was close to Charlie Kirk that out of all the people, she would probably be the one that would be the most gifted, the most knowledgeable to go after this kind of thing. And I'm starting to see some of the holes in some of these people that are being interviewed, and we see military person after military person right out of the gate trying to debunk stuff before anything. And they're telling you, no, can't be this blood coming out can't be an exit wound. It has to be an entrance wound. And then they say, this is an easy shot. Anybody can make this shot. These are from military channels. And common sense would say it's not an easy shot. When you're running, climbing up on a roof, lying down, having to shoot 126 meters within a distance of like 7 feet, a square, and you have to make sure that you hit him, and then you have to leave and run down and escape from the roof, not knowing if you're going to be shot or killed by a 22-year-old. You want me to believe that first? Please.
And then who's to blame? The idiot that's lying, or the big Facebooks, Instagrams, and X's that are making money off them lying? And then they're monetizing the lie too. It's kind of like back in the day. You had the National Enquirer that made money offline. They sold the little cheap papers. All these guys are, and these things are our version of National Enquirer, and they're monetizing that lie.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're like the National Enquirer. If you don't remember, they would talk about Bigfoot, aliens, all kinds of stuff. That's, according to this guy, this is who we are today.
But and I was like, man, guys, you're losing value of how important that is. You could be the Watergate guy that breaks the truth, but you're taking that away from people.
Okay. So this is a little bit of a slap in the face, because it's kind of hypocritical from the perspective of, he just said, you could be that Watergate person. And if you don't know anything about Watergate, I know a little bit. I know just enough to be dangerous. That Nixon's phone calls were being tapped, President Nixon at the time, and he swore, I think it was in front of Congress, several interviews, that he had nothing to do with what they were telling him, what they were saying in the media about him. And there are two people, two reporters, trying to think where it was from, the Star, I don't know, National Post, something, but they went after the story. They're like, nope, there's something under here. I think he's crooked. I think Nixon is crooked. And they got blasted to smithereens every day. People were telling them to drop it. Even their own manager of the company that they're working for would tell them, drop it. There's nothing to see here. And this is what people are saying to Candace Owens. Drop it. Stop talking about conspiracies. Stop talking about Charlie Kirk. You need to spend time mourning and keeping silent about it. That's what they're saying to Candace Owens on a daily basis. I know, because I got a dose of it myself. Just for talking about Candace Owens. I got a dose of, you must be an anti-Semite if you're talking about Candace. I never did trust her. I don't even like her face. They'll say horrible things. So you know you're onto something. So the more negative your comments are, that actually feeds me. It feeds me. The more you say things about me or Candace or Charlie Kirk and say, stop it, the more it feeds me. So if you want to continue to feed the machine, keep up with the negative comments. Keep calling me names. Keep calling me a Satanist. Keep calling me an anti-Semite. And I'll keep pushing. Because that's my fuel. That's what feeds me. I'm just letting people know out there that this gets old, but at the same time it feeds me because I know I'm onto something here. I'm onto something. So this Watergate thing, who was it? Who was the reporters? Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein from the Washington Post, and with help from a company called Deep Throat, which is interesting. Talking about throats, talking about Charlie Kirk being silenced, all kinds. So they had a ton of pushback. Editors were worried the story was too explosive, could damage the paper if they're wrong. Reporters thought the two young guys were being too obsessed. Their editors supported them, but constantly demanded triple confirmation first. And this is what you see people say today is, where's the evidence? You need triple the evidence first. And they try and shut you down right away. All right, so let's continue here. This gets good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, be the one that tells the truth. Be the paramount tactical guy that's willing to take a whipping to tell the truth.
I think, I've talked about this a lot recently, but, I think you have to be willing to poke holes in your own story. Mm-hmm. You can poke holes in everybody else's story, and that's fine. But you also have to be willing to poke holes in your own story.
Great way to put it.
I don't know if he's talking about Brian right across from him. Let's poke some holes in your story, or I don't know what he's talking about there. Just by saying that, you have to be willing to poke holes in your own story. I'm not sure what he means by that fully.
You should be poking holes in your own story. If you are really a truth seeker, you should be poking holes in your own story along with everybody else's.
But where's the oversight to do that?
It's gone.
Put a couple guys in the Wayback Machine and you make it down quick.
That's true.
Okay, let's just play this because this is interesting. If you miss it, that's okay. We're going to go back a few seconds. Listen to what he says about the Wayback Machine.
I think you have to be willing to poke holes in your own story. Mm-hmm. You can poke holes in everybody else's story, and that's fine. But you also have to be willing to poke holes in your own story.
Great way to put it.
You should be poking holes in your own story. If you are really a truth seeker, you should be poking holes in your own story along with everybody else's.
But where's the oversight to do that?
It's gone.
Put a couple guys in the Wayback Machine and you make it down quick.
Okay. There's a lot going on here. So he just said, put a couple of guys in a Wayback Machine and you've taken care of the problem. If you've never heard of a Wayback Machine, that's okay. This is why we're here. This is why we're talking about this stuff. A Wayback Machine is basically a term that is, the idea behind it is, if you want to really know history and stuff, you got to go back in time and do a deep dive and do a study as to what the real history is. That used to be a phrase that was tossed around probably in the 60s, 70s, 80s, that kind of thing. But there is a new term called the Wayback Machine that actually refers to the idea, if you could go into a time machine, you can go back and experience history for yourself and you can change it. You can manipulate the history. You can change it. So this gentleman, Brian, gave a hint that almost like this is factual, that there is a way that we can actually go back and clean up this mess. That's what he's saying. So let me unpack this. There used to be a movie, or there was a movie a few years ago. And let's just go. Let's see if I can find it here. You guys might know it if you've seen it. It was a fantastic movie, actually. So let me just see if I can find it. Where is it? I think it's right here.
Time travel.
Okay. All right. So the movie was called Looper. If you've never seen the movie Looper, you gotta watch it. It's with Bruce Willis. Great show. I forget the other guy's name that was also in Batman. He was also in Inception, which is interesting in itself. He was in the Dark Knight. Sorry, I want to say Dark Knight Rises, but what's it called? The third Batman. I just lost it. I wanted to say Dark Knight Rises, but Batman Rises? Anyways, losing my mind here. But the movie is called Looper, and it's a fantastic movie, and we're just going to actually go to it. We're going to just watch a little scene here. Right here. Let's see if we can bring it up. Yeah, right here. Okay, let's just play a couple minutes of it.
Has not yet been invented. But time travel has not yet been invented. But 30 years from now, it will have been. It will be instantly outlawed, used only in secret by the largest criminal organizations. It's nearly impossible to dispose of a body in the future. I'm told. Tagging techniques, whatnot. So when these criminal organizations in the future need someone gone, they use specialized assassins in our present called loopers. And so, my employers in the future nab the target. They zap him back to me, their looper. He appears, hands tied and head sacked. And I do the necessaries. Collect my silver. So the target has vanished from the future, and I've just disposed of a body that technically does not exist. Clean.
Bonjour, Joe.
Bonjour, Beatrix.
How's the French?
Slow. How's the coffee?
Burnt.
Okay, so that's it for that. I'll probably show more scenes later, but we'll go back to the interview. But again, the idea behind this is there is a time in the future where they invent time travel, and the second it's invented, they make it illegal to travel back in time. So what they do is there's an organized crime agency that basically control time travel. And what they do is if they're having a problem with someone today, they'll actually take that person, throw them back in time. Very similar to what this gentleman, Brian, said. We can put two guys in a Wayback Machine. Now, it could have been an exaggeration, like just throwing something out there, but he says it twice on the show. So again, if you're like, okay, Shane, you're doing a leap about the idea that these guys are able to take people back in time and slap them around a bit in 1985. You're crazy for saying that. And then you can actually control them because you can either leave them there in 1985 and they'll just disappear, or you can bring them back and they're corrected. And I think there is some kind of a method that they're using. I can't prove it yet. Obviously, it's very difficult to prove time travel, but there's some method that they're using to threaten people to shape their experience or to shape how they think. And they're okay with the idea that if people speak out, if people speak up, we will slap them around. We will split their lip. And it's almost like in this interview, there was a shot across the bow towards, again, I keep mentioning Candace Owens because she's the one that's on top of this whole thing. And if I was her, I would take these mini threats, if you will, serious, as in they're hinting at the idea that the only way to take care of these mini media outlets, the X's, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, which are basically people like us, is to throw them into a wayback machine, slap them around a bit, and then they're corrected. Let's go back to the interview and let me find the other clip that I found quite disturbing, because you start thinking then, well, okay, that's just Shane saying this stuff. That's him making this stuff up. So let's go to, where is it? Let me find it here. And sometime in the future, my daughter is going to help me with the administration part of this stuff. She's going to help bring clips up. I finally convinced her to help me out in the background. She doesn't want to go on camera or whatever. She's beautiful and everything, but she doesn't mind the idea of helping me out because I can talk while she queues up the video and all this kind of stuff. So for now, it kind of takes me a little bit to do this, but let's just see if I can find it. I think it's right here. I think it's here. Let me just double check. Let's see. Let me find out where it is. See if I can find it. Let me see. 140. Okay. So let me go back to about the 140 mark. Right here. Okay. Might take a minute to find it once we play it, but it'll show up the first time that he talks about what to do with people that are actually speaking out. And I think it's important to hear it from his words rather than me just saying things. Okay, let's go back here.
I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but I do believe that there are things out there bigger than you and I that are in operations. Mm-hmm. It's a fact. I also am a huge believer in the First Amendment. And so these people that are out there saying all this, back up, why is the First Amendment so important? Because back in the day when our founding fathers said, man, why do we need this amendment first? And because a voice is an arms for people that don't have arms. That's what it was for. It was a collective or a single voice could be powerful to a hierarchy of people that can't be conquered with an arm. So we have to have this voice and we have to protect this voice at all costs. And they said, and they wanted us to have that. And that's why they put it first. And it should be used as a shield. Well, nowadays with the media and now social media, that right has been used as a sword.
So now he's saying the First Amendment, the right to be able to speak out, is now being used as a sword. It should have been used as a shield. And this is where he starts attacking people subtly. It's always subtle. calls it social media, but it's condescending. It's like you people on social media talking about this stuff. Well, we have ways to deal with people like you.
And in the sword of public opinion. It's like, hey, well, let's just put a bunch of lies out there and claim First Amendment, and we can say whatever we want. And it's like, when's that stop? And literally whatever you want. You've seen some of the idiocy out there. Palm gun, exploding microphone, hand signals. It's like, it doesn't even have to be true, and it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just using that First Amendment as a sword and not a shield. And we gotta step back at that and look at it. I was talking to your guys earlier, and I was like, at some point you put those people in the Wayback Machine. And the Wayback Machine is you take them to 1985. And when people said something that was untrue.
Weird, right? Take him back. Again, this is the first time that he mentioned Wayback Machine, and I never even knew anything about Wayback Machine. But this is code for taking people, whether literally or figuratively, back to 85, where you can slap them around a bit, interrogate them, bust their lip open, make them bleed, teach them a lesson about speaking out. This is literally what he's throwing across the bow subtly. It's like, we know how to take care of these people. We put them in the Wayback Machine back to 1985, and we bust their lip. We teach them a lesson. This is a threat to people that are speaking out, like Candace Owens. I'm telling you. It's a subtle threat. So let me just back it up again a bit, and then I'll play it. Can't make this stuff up, guys.
And in the sword of public opinion. It's like, hey, well, let's just put a bunch of lies out there and claim First Amendment, and we can say whatever we want. And it's like, when's that stop? And literally whatever you want. You've seen some of the idiocy out there. Palm gun, exploding microphone, hand signals. It's like, it doesn't even have to be true, and it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just using that First Amendment as a sword and not a shield. And we gotta step back at that and look at it. I was talking to your guys earlier, and I was like, at some point you put those people in the Wayback Machine. And the Wayback Machine is you take them to 1985. And when people said something that was untrue about you or your family, and they said something bad about you that other people heard, you split their lip.
There's a consequence.
An immediate consequence. Not a consequence that comes through a lawsuit 3.5 years later, an immediate consequence, so that a level of respect is gained. And then also, hey, if you do this again, I'll see you next time as well.
Wow. This is how these people operate. Maybe, just maybe, this is what happened to Charlie Kirk. Is they wanted to teach him a lesson. He wasn't biting, and then they got rid of him. Whoever they is, it's tough to tell. It's very tough to tell right now because there's so many lies. But now this is a subtle threat. It's like the way that we deal with this is we take them back to 1985 and we bust their lip. And then we tell them we're going to come back again and do it again. That's a threat. So I think that's an indirect threat to a person like Candace Owens, although he never said it. But she's at the tippity top when it comes to the food chain for going after whoever it is that's responsible for killing Charlie Kirk. Basically saying, look, we have ways to take care of people. If you say something that's untrue about my family, we'll take you back to 1985. That's code for, that's threat. That's almost like a code red from A Few Good Men. There's code words out there. Those are warning shots. You keep pressing this, you keep coming after us, you're going to get a busted lip. And when you watch this whole interview, none of the stuff that this guy says makes any sense. None of it. And I watched the whole thing. It's bizarro world. It's bizarro world. Why 1985? That is interesting. He just said that back then that was kind of the time frame that that this is what would happen to people. What I find interesting is if you think about the movie Back to the Future, when did they go back? I'm thinking it was like November 1985. Let me just double check because I didn't even think about that to now. Back to the Future timeline. November, I think, 1985. Let's see. Let's see, 1985, November 5th, 1985. Marty meets Doc at Twin Pines around 1 a.m. Libyans show up. Doc Brown is shot. Marty escapes in the DeLorean, accidentally hitting 88 miles an hour, goes back to 1955. This is the starting point. Crazy, right? And then he goes back to 2015 and says something has to be done about your kids, Marty. So there's a whole bunch of 1985 timelines, which is interesting. And it's interesting that this guy says you got to take him back to 1985. And if you remember, Biff rewrote 1985. It became hell. 1985 was hell when Marty got back because Biff took this almanac book and he started betting on the races and all kinds of stuff and became a multimillionaire and then turned the place into like a porn haven. It's crazy. It's actually, I have to watch that show again. Crazy, right? So 1985. It's weird that this guy says, let's take them into a Wayback Machine. So somebody mentioned this in the comments. Isn't that in a cartoon? Yes, it is in a cartoon. Let's just see if we can find it.
But what I'm
Right here. You knew I wouldn't let you down, guys, right? Here it is. Here's the Wayback Machine. This is how it works. This is in a cartoon. This is Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine.
most proud of is my son, Sherman.
Hi, Mr. Peabody. Oh, have you told them about the way back?
I was just getting to that. When I adopted Sherman, I vowed to be the best father I could be, to prepare him for all the wonders of the world, present and past. And so Sherman inspired the greatest invention of my life, a time machine. Of course, time travel can be a bit unpredictable. There are bound to be a few mishaps along the way.
Let's just say the Leaning Tower of Pisa wasn't always leaning.
But there's nothing like learning the lessons of history firsthand. Right, Sherman?
Where are we going today, Mr. Peabody?
Not where, Sherman. When?
All right, there you go. 100% proof time travel is possible. Just kidding. Just kidding. But isn't it interesting that there is stuff out there talking about time travel, time machines? And I did see the original H.G. Wells Time Machine. That's a great show. Watched it a few years ago. I might watch it again. Even the new one, The Time Machine, is a good one as well. Forget the guy's name. It's a great show. They're both good. Very good. And it makes you think. But then you get this guy that's like, hey, we got to put these people in a Wayback Machine back to 1985 and slap them around a bit because we don't like the media. We don't like how they're telling lies. And it's like, well, we're actually accusing you of being a liar. And now you're accusing us for being a liar for asking questions, tough questions. And this is cyclical. And you're going to see this more and more, where anytime you start talking about Egyptian planes, who are these Egyptians that showed up at the airport? All these planes following around Erica. We thought they were following around Charlie Kirk, but they're actually following around Erica. And again, Candace has never said that Erica is responsible for Charlie Kirk's murder. She's blaming, really, on a huge portion of it is Turning Point itself. And you can't help but see crazy things. Like, just think about it. Here's this guy. Okay? This guy is in charge of taking care of Charlie Kirk's security. So he gets there 2 weeks early. I want to go through some of the notes and see, do we have any inkling that Turning Point booked this thing before 2 weeks? Because I know Candace was going down that rabbit hole of talking about how much in advance do they actually book events, places, before Charlie Kirk shows up. And it's interesting that these guys, and you have to watch the whole interview. I'm just giving you kind of like the Cole's notes, but in the interview, he says they showed up 2 weeks before to ascertain everything. They looked at everything. They looked around. They said, yeah, this is not cool at all. Like, this whole area, this is not a good place, not a good venue, but oh well, Charlie wanted it. His people wanted it. So we're going to go through with it. Gets there, start scoping it out, start looking at all the rooftops. And then they got wind that there are some students able to access the rooftops. And he's like, you know what? Maybe I should reach out to someone and say, hey, can we get up to the rooftop and just have a guy there? Would that be all right? And this is to the police chief in that area. And the police chief said, we got it covered. So he didn't even ask any question. I'm talking about Brian. He didn't even ask any question. He just went, okay, you got it covered. Cool. And left the roof alone. Didn't bother anymore. Didn't bother asking for drones or anything. And he's on record now saying that he didn't want to break the law by using a drone because they're so illegal in the United States of America. It's ridiculous. It's lies. He's lying. If you have a drone, and I bought one a few months ago, less than 250 grams, it's 249 grams, you can fly it wherever you want. You just need permission. That's all. You just need to say, hey, do you mind? We have a huge event. I'm just going to fly a drone by to make sure the place is safe. Are you cool with that? They'd be like, yeah, that's okay. As long as it's not one of those big drones. Because then, yeah, you do need a license and all kinds of stuff. But if it's under 250 grams, knock yourself out. But the guy said, they didn't even ask for a drone. So I guess that makes sense. That's how you do security. You don't even do a drone pass. And meanwhile, on the day of the event, there was a drone flying by. There was a drone. According to this guy, Brian, he said he did see a drone, and he says it's actually normal for media agencies like Turning Point to use a drone to record things. But he didn't feel like it was crucial for him to have his own drone up there, even though he has guys that are trained to fly drones. He didn't feel that that was worthwhile to explore because he didn't want to break the law to save Charlie Kirk's life. It's interesting that he goes down that train of I didn't want to break any laws. I didn't want to break anything. Meanwhile, after Charlie Kirk gets killed, murdered in front of him, they break every law when it comes to traffic. They go through red lights. They speed over 100 miles an hour, he said. And they were going left, right, turning left, right, all over the place to get to the hospital fast. So don't tell me that you guys aren't used to breaking the law in order to save someone. And again, it's a lie saying that you couldn't use your own drone to survey the area. Nobody in their right mind would believe you, especially if you used a mini drone. Hey, I'm just going to get a better look-see around just to see some of the dangerous areas around here. I'm just going to have a little look. Nothing. It's like, no, our responsibility is for people that are 30 meters in front of me. And because the police officer, Chief Long, said that I got it covered, that means you purposely do not look at the roof because that's not your jurisdiction anymore. You don't look at the roof. Period. That's not for you to look at. That's not what you do. You look in front of you for guns, for weapons, for bombs, for people leaving book bags. That's what he said. And isn't it interesting they had no metal detectors anywhere for weapons? Nothing. Go on in. Don't have a ticket? That's fine. Move on in. You have a bowling bag that looks like a bowling ball with a candle in it? Move on in. That's fine. That seems rather normal. No metal detectors, nothing. So his job is to look directly at people in front of him. That's it. And then this guy's job in front of him, that's it. And whenever you ask him a question, he lies. Did anybody hand you anything? Did a lady approach you and hand you something? Was there a handoff with something? He's like, nope. No handoff. I don't know. I've heard those stories. Nope. And then Sean shows a video of a lady walking up to Brian and handing him something in his hand, and he takes it in his hand, puts it in his pocket. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot about those. Those are Tic Tacs, because it's very important. While I'm guarding Charlie, I gotta have the best morning breath. I gotta have that stuff. I forgot about the Tic Tacs. Boy, that's gonna come back on me. Just like, so you have security guys that are trained, jiu-jitsu experts that are trained to look 30 feet ahead of you, but not on the rooftop, because that's not our jurisdiction. We don't care about that stuff. We only care about people coming up to the microphone, and we have 12 people standing there getting ready. What are you guys going to do? Because we're ready for you. We got guns. And to make things more confusing, we're actually going to send our own people into the crowd with guns that look like you or me. We're not going to dress them up in uniform because that would be weird. So we're going to put them in a crowd. But you're not going to know who they are, but they're going to have guns in the crowd. And that's okay with us because we want to be inconspicuous. We don't want anyone to know that we're either for them or against them. Again, it's all in the interview. I just happen to have a little bit of a photographic memory when it comes to long form interviews. I remember a lot of stuff. And I'm telling you, lawyers will have a field day with this. They're just going to have so much fun with this. I'm actually glad this guy was on the Sean Ryan podcast because what he said does not line up with anything. And even the silly things, like he'd say things like, I was shot at. Well, it was more like, it was kind of like training because we would train people. That's what we were designed to train. So I remember getting so close that I saw the wadding pop out from the shotgun and went over my head. And I thought, oh, I could have been shot. Meanwhile, that's often used for blanks, practice scenarios, all this kind of stuff. And he said, I even saw a guy's hair puff up forward. It just went puff because of the blast from the shotgun. Sean Ryan's like, ooh, yeah. Yeah. It's silliness. If you buy any of this stuff, I have some yellow snow in Canada for you that I'd like to sell you. I'm telling you, it's nutso. So I think I'd be interested to hear what Candace has to say today. If I hope she talks about this interview. I don't think she watched it when it first dropped a couple days ago, but it's 2 hours and 48 minutes, man, and it's pure gold if it comes to the prosecution of, let's just say, somebody like was on the side of Charlie Kirk trying to figure out. I think they would be called not the defense, they would be the prosecution. Like, you guys are responsible in some way for Charlie Kirk's murder, and you're not owning up to it. Like, this guy should be fired. His whole team should be fired because you only have one job, and that is to protect Charlie Kirk, and you failed. You failed. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, what did we do wrong? Well, there's a bunch of things you did wrong. The first thing is you didn't bother putting a guy up on the roof. Why? Because the police department said we got it covered, and you let it go. You dropped the ball. You failed miserably. You should be dismissed immediately with your entire team. All of you guys should be fired. Yesterday. Not today. You should have been fired yesterday. Already you should have been fired. The fact that you're not fired is kind of weird in itself. And anytime you ask him questions like, were you at all suspicious leading up to the murder of Charlie Kirk? Did you get any gut feeling? Like, did any of your instincts kick in where you're like, something feels off? He's like, nope, nothing at all. Nothing to see here. Did Charlie ever say that he felt a little bit uncomfortable? Yes, daily. He was telling us, I feel like one of these days I'm going to get it. I'm either going to get shot or something bad is going to go wrong. I feel we need more security. Every day he would tell this to his security team. And then when Sean Ryan pressed him and said, did you feel? No, just like, yeah, it looked like it was ridiculously unsafe, especially the rooftop and all the trap doors and all this kind of stuff, because we assessed it for 2 weeks and said this is bad news. But we're more worried about people with backpacks. That was our greatest fear is the 3,000 people in front of us, not the people that we can't see on rooftops. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I'm telling you, this guy is full of a bag of crap. I don't know. Like, you have to watch the whole interview. There's so many holes in what he said. It's ridiculous. I don't believe him for a second. Like, it's the amount of training and money that they spent in these guys that are the tippity top, the snipers and everything. He's like, oh, I don't want to break any laws by putting a guy up on the roof, a sniper, because that would make people think that we're trying to keep Charlie Kirk safe. We don't want to do that stuff. So instead, we're going to blend into the crowd so that nobody knows that there's security around. I think if you beefed up and showed security on the rooftop, in the crowd, with different outfits, if you mess around, you're going to get toast. You're going to get sent back to 1985. I think that's kind of a deterrent in itself. Not, let's blend in because Charlie Kirk didn't like to put restrictions like metal detectors and all this kind of stuff to see who has a gun and who doesn't. He didn't like to do that stuff, even though he felt like he was getting death threats every single day. And he felt that he was not going to make it to be an old man, that he was going to die young. And he would say that to people like Candace Owens and to his team, his security team, that I feel like not secure. Like, this is a problem. And then on the day of, his security team is like, man, I've never seen a better place. This is amazing. You can enter from anywhere. You can even show up behind Charlie Kirk. You can show up from in vents, rooftops, behind trees, rocks. You could throw rocks down. This is amazing. There's so many places you could attack Charlie Kirk from. And that didn't even register on these guys at all. And instead it's like, these media types, these crazy people, we need to take them back to 1985. That's what we need to do. And we need to correct these people. It's weird. It's a bizarre world. I'm telling you. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Hope you got something out of it. We will continue to dive down this crazy rabbit hole. And I hope you'll continue to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching this video from. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye for now.
Black Swan Revelations here on YouTube brought you today's mind-bending journey. Dive into the discussion, your comments, questions, prayer requests, and powerful testimonies of Jesus' love are what fuel this community. Did today's episode hit home? Smash that like button. New here? Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a live stream or a video upload. Thanks for being part of today's adventure. Catch you in the next video, or maybe even in the clouds. Stay curious, stay blessed.